What up, everybody? Welcome to LaFlare Radio, episode 8. Got all the top NBA, NFL, and hip-hop news from the last couple weeks coming right at you. BT LaFlare here with Hot Rod.
What it do?
And Dee Greatest.
What's good?
Starting off with the NBA, talking about the Memphis Grizzlies. After a pretty strong start, end up firing their head coach, David Fizdale, on Monday, 24 hours after Fizdale benched Marc Gasol for an entire fourth quarter of the team's loss to the Brooklyn Nets. There's been a lot of talk after Fizdale's firing, including LeBron and Dwayne Wade sounding off on Twitter asking for answers. A lot of people seem to think that Fizdale is simply the fall guy for a lot of problems that the Grizzlies have been having. So I'll start with Rod. What are your thoughts on the situation? Do you think that they should have kept him? And where do you think they go from here?
Well, first off, I'm a Heat guy. Fizz is a Heat guy. So, I'm going to stick behind him when things aren't going like his way. And I think he definitely was the fall guy. And especially with the whole thing with him and Marc Gasol, like the game before, it seems like he's really pissed off Marc Gasol. And they felt that they had the need to let him go. And I've been, looking up things online and watching some of the talk shows like Cowherd and Skip and Shannon. And Steven Jackson, he was really on point with this situation. He was like, the Grizzlies let go of Zach Randolph and Tony Allen, and their thing is like grit and grind, and Coach Fizdale's a grit and grind type of guy.
Mm-hmm.
And you let those guys go, and you're basically throwing him into a fight with just like butter knives in a sense, rather than like knives and swords and stuff. So that's like a big point. And another point is like He-Bade was a guy like Chandler Parsons is getting paid $100 million to play like 10 minutes and not really do anything. And he's being the fall guy rather than like, management putting the team together and just really just having two stars and a bunch of nobodies just trying to crawl their way up into the West playoffs. So I think he was really just the fall guy, honestly.
Dee Greatest?
Oh, man. This was a panic move, in my opinion. I wonder how many organizations would have let go of their coach in this situation. Like, I haven't seen a firing this quick since, Mike Brown, maybe?
Yeah.
McHale.
What's up when we say McHale? I mean, at least McHale been there for a decent amount of years before he got let go.
Yeah.
Fizz didn't even finish the second.
You're right.
So Mike Brown didn't finish the second, I believe. It's just pitiful that we didn't hear anything about any player meetings. To be somewhat fair to Chandler Parsons, he's having a pretty good season. He's playing 20 minutes. I mean, yes, he's averaging 8, but he's shooting 52% from the field and 48% from 3. So it's way better than last year when he was averaging 6 with somewhat around the same time of minutes, but shooting 34% from field goal and 27% from 3. Mm-hmm. Having said that, when Steven Jackson called him out, he didn't say anything about talent.
No, not at all.
He called out his heart. And think about Chandler Parsons. I mean, he's not the most passionate guy in the world, in my opinion. Honestly, I watching Memphis. That start was beautiful, and I thought I was going to be right that the Grizzlies was always going to find a way, but
I'll take that.
Yeah, you'll take that.
I will. That
take
dub. You could take that L. But I also am going to take a big L with the Clips, but we could get to them later.
Yeah, we could definitely have that one, especially with Blake. I feel bad for Fizz because I really don't want to pull the race card. I don't. But it's not a lot of black coaches in the league, and even with the NFL, think about short leashes. The only example that I had for a situation like this was another black coach. And I've seen other coaches get removed or leave their positions by hopping to another job, like Mike Malone or the last Grizzlies coach. Was it Dave Yorger?
Yeah. He went to the Kings.
Exactly.
I think they fired him, and then he went to the Kings.
but he walked into another job,
Yeah,
so it's
yeah.
not like he lost anything. You
Mhm.
know, Fizz is probably not gonna get that. And the Grizzlies threw away their season.
Honestly,
They
I
threw away
agree.
their season.
I
Yeah.
agree.
Honestly, if you're gonna just make moves like this, there's no more grit and grind. You already lost 2 core players. You might as well just blow it up. Mike Conley was a bad investment, not because he's a bad player, but because you overpaid him, which everybody in the world knew. I mean, he's not even an all-star. I want to hear this underrated stuff. He's come on now,
He'd be an all-star in the East.
but he's not in the East,
I know.
so don't pay him like that. Mark is not exactly young.
Yeah.
How many franchises will build their franchises around Marcus Gasol today?
None.
Exactly.
He's like 30, 32, right?
And for him to have this much power, if he was the main reason, is ridiculous. And I would trade him.
Well, that's what I was gonna ask. Is if you're the GM of the Grizzlies, what's your next move? You look to move Gasol.
Well, if I'm the GM, I'm already feeling heat that I don't have a job after the season
Facts.
because the press is really killing them right now.
Yeah.
And I mean, when you have guys like LeBron and D Wade come out and say like, "I need answers," like why he's the fall guy, like
Mm-hmm.
other former players like Steven Jackson coming out for a firing of that magnitude, then the GM obviously has some heat behind him. But I mean, if I'm him, it depends. I mean, he just talked to the owner. If the owner wants to go through a rebuild, which I obviously think they should, I start shopping Gasol and Conley and seeing which picks I can get for that. Especially this year's draft. Oh, there's a lot of good young players coming in. I definitely think about that.
The GM there has been there for a long time, hasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Since at least 2008.
Yeah, I mean he's built that team really well. That's one thing that we can't really knock him for, like, cause they came out of nowhere. Like the Grizzlies were like a laughing stock for a while.
Yeah.
And they came out of nowhere and beat the Spurs in the playoffs.
Well, it's all because of Marcus Gasol, really.
Yeah.
Marcus Gasol, Zebo.
And Conley.
Yeah.
At that time, Zebo was their best player.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
So,
But I mean, they built around him, and that's what created the
Mhm.
team that became known as what we know the Grizzlies as today.
Tony Allen, the
Oh yeah.
first team all defense.
I mean, losing Tony Allen is, I think, really big for this team, and I think down the stretch that shows because you lose that defense,
Mhm.
and
And-
eventually,
The perfect example, like Steven Jackson also mentioned this, like when they traded those two guys away, like they lost the grit and grind, but they lost like the dog, like you know what I mean, like
Yeah.
that like guys with the dogs and they'll do anything to win. And Tony Allen was really like one of those guys, and I think he's a big reason for why the Pelicans are kind of turned around right now.
yeah. Well, maybe that even applies to Gasol because Gasol hasn't really been playing the defense that he's played in years past. So maybe that kind of rubs off on him having teammates that play in such a way,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Especially when you have a guy like Tony Allen. Obviously, it'll be a lot easier to play defense, especially with the way Gasol is. He's more of a help side guy.
Yeah.
Last comment I'm gonna say, I don't think the Grizzlies are gonna be good again for a long time.
Yeah,
Because
I agree.
even if they blow it up and decide to trade these players, think about all the talent that's coming in and think about the positions that people have filled already. And looking at the age of their best players,
If they want to rebuild, there's a lot of players. There's a decent amount of players right now in the league that are like searching for like that opportunity. So if they can get, if they can, entice Cleveland into giving them that top 5 pick for Marcus Gasol, they get that, or not top 5.
I would not
the
give up a
Brooklyn-
lottery pick for Marcus Gasol.
You wouldn't. Most teams wouldn't, but the Cavs might. If that shows them that they can beat Tristan Thompson in that top 5 pick for Marcus Gasol, you don't think that they think they could beat Golden State?
Well, one, no. Secondly,
I don't know.
I-
That would change it up.
I wouldn't think so.
It's just a
Secondly,
lot.
like with no guarantee that LeBron is coming back, I'm holding on to that pick just in case.
But even a team of Isaiah Thomas, Marc Gasol, and Kevin Love with no LeBron, you don't think that team would be a good team in the East?
I mean, do you want to be a good team in the East or do you want to be a champion?
Well, if LeBron walks, either way, they're not going to be a champion.
I mean, yeah, that's true. I'd rather just
If
go
they're gonna-
younger. I'd rather just
If-
go younger.
I
If-
truly-
I agree. I would too. But I'm saying, isn't that like they kind of need to go all in if they want to keep LeBron?
I truly believe that if they're going to get a championship, it has to be this year.
Yeah.
yeah.
Because
If-
all their, I mean, you
if
look
they
at the
win, he's not
supporting
gonna
cast
leave.
as well, and the supporting cast isn't getting any younger.
Yeah. I mean, see, the thing is, they could get creative, you know? And
Yeah.
with the roster like that, just IT, Marc Gasol, and Kevin Love would be pretty good. You know what I'm saying? With LeBron, that's a really, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Well, yeah,
that,
and
that would
the talk,
scare Golden State, honestly. 'Cause
Definitely.
They'd be that big man. When they go small ball, Marc Gasol could kill whoever,
yeah,
you know?
a center that can shoot
Yeah.
and play.
And play defense. He was
Yeah.
Defensive Player of the Year.
Well, I mean, a lot of people have been talking about that the last couple weeks. Before Fizdale was fired, they were talking about the idea of moving Gasol. That quieted down a lot once they kicked him. But they've also talked about DeAndre Jordan coming from the Clippers. Either way, they're going to have to deal Tristan Thompson and that first-round pick if they want to get either of those guys.
Yeah.
So
I'd
do you-
definitely
you
do that
would?
for Marc Gasol rather than DeAndre Jordan.
Okay, but you wouldn't do it for DeAndre?
I wouldn't add the pick. I'd probably add my own pick,
Yeah,
Cavs pick,
yeah.
but I wouldn't add that top 5 for DeAndre. What
Yeah.
do you think, DG?
Well, moving into DeAndre, he's not exactly young either. So I would agree with you about not adding that pick. And then he's much more limited than Marc Gasol.
Mm-hmm.
And looking at him without Chris Paul, he's only averaging 10 points a game.
What was he averaging before?
12, 12, 11, 10.4.
Yeah.
But even within, it's like field goal percentage 71.4, 70, 71, 67. He's at 65.6. You know, the only thing I give him credit for is improving his free throw percentage, but sometimes it's going to, and well, he's increased his turnovers now. But even beyond the numbers, you just know DeAndre is not a guy that's going to lead your team to the playoffs, especially with Blake going.
If he was to go to the Cavs, he'd be like 5th option every time. Like, he wouldn't be featured. You get what I'm saying?
No,
And I
Cavs side,
think
yeah.
if they found a way to get him, D Wade loves that big that he can throw the oop to. Like, he would be so effective with D Wade and LeBron, obviously. And he'd anchor their defense that really needs an anchor.
Well, if he's going to anchor the defense, I hope he's going to be better than what he is now because he's barely averaging a block a game.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely go for Gasol. I mean, if you can trade Thompson for Jordan, obviously.
Oh,
That's-
yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's not even
Anybody
close.
would do that.
I don't think that's ever going to happen, though.
No,
No,
yeah,
no.
they'd fire Doc and all the dudes if they did that.
You know what? Let them do that then because that might be best for that franchise.
Oh, I think he's gonna be out by the end of the year.
Doc?
I hope
Yeah.
so. I hope so.
And that's sad to say, but the way if Blake's out 2 months,
Yeah.
they already demoted him from president. He's not the
True.
president anymore. So
Well, moving back, talking a little more about the Cavs. Now, 3rd in the East, 14-7. They've won 9 straight. A lot of that can be attributed to their three-point game. They've really come around in these last 9 games. They rank 2nd behind Houston in three-pointers made with 13.3 and attempted with 35, while sitting 9th in percentage with 38. So that's led them to the third highest scoring offense, averaging 111.7 points per game. Their defense still hasn't come around completely, but how does this change your outlook on the Cavs going forward?
this is a little more of what I expected coming into the year. They have so many shooters, and they have guys that like Corver, and they have guys that really improved their shooting too. Like they have Jeff Green's improved on his
Yeah.
3-point shooting.
LeBron,
LeBron,
obviously.
LeBron, man. I didn't think he could get better.
Yeah. Well, here's
Like, that's crazy.
a huge thing, and we talked about it on the preview. Having Derrick Rose and Dwayne Wade at the 2 guards, 2 guys that can't shoot the 3, completely changed the dynamic of one of the teams that was a huge 3-point shooting team last year. Now that both those guys, Dwayne Wade's now in a much more comfortable 6-man role because his age is
Yeah, he's
really
really
been showing.
thrived in that role too.
Yeah.
and we called it from the get go. I
Yeah.
don't understand why these professionals couldn't figure it out when.
Definitely. And then with Derrick Rose gone, he's contemplating not even coming back. He's dealt with a lot of injuries. He's just like,
Yeah, that's tough. I honestly like coming from a Heat fan who's not really fond of Derrick Rose.
yeah, it's tough. And
I feel real bad for him.
I mean, we'll get back to that. We'll come back to that. But Calderon now, he's starting at point guard, and he's shooting over 40%. And that's what I think has really been I think Jose Calderon is a large part of the Cavaliers team coming around. One,
He's a shooter.
Derrick Rose only had like 12 assists total by the time that he was out. So, I mean, when you watch him, he drives in the lane. It's like he has blinders on. Where you look at LeBron, he'll drive and he'll dish the ball out. But Rose wasn't really doing that. So, not only could Rose not shoot, but he wasn't really getting the ball around. And then Calderon comes in, shoots over 40%, and it really changes up the spacing.
That's what he does. That's why he always been. He's a pro's pro. Honestly, Jose is working because he fits. Like, the thing Kyrie was huge upon, or why he was so well for Cleveland, is because he could shoot. Man, not having Derrick Rose was a blessing. That was a waste of $1 million. I mean, honestly, because unless he would have came off the bench, which I wouldn't have seen him do because of his ego, I don't think
You
Rose
talking
could.
about over Calderon? Or like
I would
under
still
Calderon? Or
I would still start. If Rose decided to come back, I would still start Jose.
Yeah.
yeah,
they're
if
a
they're
better
rolling.
team.
Yeah, if they're
Yeah,
rolling on
definitely.
it, I wouldn't mess
They're a
that
better
up
team.
either.
But, I mean, once IT got back, he had to have known he was going to be on the bench. Rose.
We would have known, but this is the same guy who thought he was going to get a max deal last year. We
thought
don't
the
know
Knicks
what
were there.
Rose is thinking.
Yeah.
He also thought the Knicks were a super team.
Right. So if they would have brought the idea of Jose starting over him or IT coming off an injury, he probably would have been offended. Probably would have left the team anyway, which wouldn't have hurt the Cavs, man.
I mean,
Nah.
it's only $1 million.
He knew he was coming off the bench. He signed to come off the bench. Because Kyrie was there when he signed.
Well, I think at the time that
No.
was around where we didn't know what was going on with the Cavs because we was hearing so many rumors and Kyrie put in a trade.
I specifically remember that he signed, and then we didn't hear about the Kyrie thing till like a month after.
It was that far apart?
It was like a month, maybe 2 weeks at the very least.
Maybe 2 weeks.
I think it was 2 weeks. But then again, I don't know. Like you're saying, behind closed doors, that could have been out between them like
Yeah.
months and ahead.
They had the right idea, getting Rose, getting somebody that could do something Kyrie can do when it comes to the slashing ability, but it was the wrong need because LeBron could have felt that, as we've seen. LeBron can shoot, of course. I mean, he's shooting 42%, but you need everybody to be able to be that weapon.
Mhm.
You can get a drive and kick game from any of them, to be honest.
Yeah. And with LeBron, his shooting percentages are going up, but I think the big thing is his free throws. If he's near 80, 85 for the whole season, that's so many points that he could have had seasons before that, he's left off by missing free throws.
Well, he's 76 right now, so he's kind of the same. I'm just
Well,
concerned.
earlier,
with-
he probably dipped off, but earlier in the season, he was hovering like 85.
yeah.
And that was
Yeah.
a big deal at one point, but he's probably
Gone
falling
back.
out. Yeah,
Dip back a little bit.
regressing.
Two things I don't like, though. I don't like the 4 turnovers per game, but knowing what LeBron's position is, I give him a pass for that. But he's doing so much so early. And LeBron, we keep talking about these not young players. LeBron is in his 30s. And as many times he's been to the finals, I'm sure his body has been aching and is more sore than we see. I'm sure he's hiding a lot. This might be the year everything catches up to him.
I don't think so.
I mean, so
He's a
far,
machine.
it hasn't looked like that so far.
I mean, it's not even December yet, though.
That's true. But, I mean, there hasn't even been any sort of inclination that that's about
Mhm.
to happen.
I think what they're gonna do is let him play these big minutes and do what they did that one year and just be like, take 2 weeks. It's-
that was the year they ended up winning it.
Yeah, like take 2 weeks.
Things were looking bad
And-
back then, though. Like,
They went 0
back
for
then,
10, right?
it wasn't like just take
But-
2 weeks thing. It was they were struggling major, and LeBron said, I need to like get away and reevaluate, and then he came back in 2 weeks.
Yeah, well, do that again. They could do that, especially especially when IT gets back. They'll have a guy that can carry them offensively.
But you're gonna want LeBron there so that they can get into the flow.
They'll figure it out. LeBron, his IQ is unmatched, so
Yeah,
he'll figure it out. And
it's like one of the biggest things. Like once IT gets back, what's this team gonna look like? You know.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's more of a defensive thing. Offensively, he'll kind of be like Kyrie.
Yeah.
He'll be like, he won't be as like eye-opening as Kyrie, but he's as good of a one-on-one scorer.
Defensively, he'll be like Kyrie too, because it's not like Kyrie was a lockdown defender.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think,
And it's not a defensive team anyway, so
Mhm.
it's not like he's gonna make an issue.
But see, now if they were to go ahead and get a guy like DeAndre, now that changes.
Yeah.
Having a guy like DeAndre behind him makes him look better as a defensive player.
That'll risk depth, though, don't you think?
What'd you say?
That would risk depth, though, don't you think?
Having DeAndre,
Getting DeAndre.
They have.
it's
enough.
just.
No,
I
it would
mean,
be
it's
like,
the same. You're
it'd be
swapping.
like Tristan Thompson and
Yeah.
like Shumpert or something.
Yeah.
So you lose the only backup power forward you have. To fill in the center that you don't have at all. That's true. And then a wing player who's serviceable, especially with
Well,
JR. Right
well,
now.
they still have Crowder. They still have JR. They still have D Wade.
Yeah.
I
They
would
still
trade
have-
JR.
Crowder can even play
Yeah,
the 4.
Yeah, and Crowder could play the 4. LeBron would play the 4. They
Yeah.
have enough.
Okay.
And K-Love, you could slide him back to center when DeAndre.
They still got Fry too.
Fry.
Fry's been okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he really fits playing with LeBron
Yeah.
because of how good of a shooter he is at that position. So
Mhm.
he's a guy you could put in there for like 8 minutes a game, 10 minutes.
Yeah. So staying in the East, moving over to Washington, the Wizards lose star point guard John Wall for a couple of weeks with a knee injury. How does this look for the Wizards? It really forces Bradley Beal and a couple other players to step up a little bit. Beal's been pretty good so far this season, but what kind of impact does this have going forward?
I think that they'll be fine because they're in the East, and the East is really starting to show what we were talking about at the beginning of the season. Other than Detroit, Detroit's the one really like surprising team, but all the other teams are really falling back into place. Like the Magic were first, but now they're like 12th. They've lost
Yeah.
their way down. But the Wizards will be fine, and we'll really get to see if Otto Porter could live up to that contract, at least while John Wall's gone. And last night he hit, game-winning shot for them. So as of right now, he's looking pretty decent, living up to that max contract he got. And Bradley Beal's gonna do what he does every night.
Yeah.
And it's really gonna hurt Gortat though, because that's him and John Wall, like that pick and roll, like that's really their bread and butter. But
Well, another big thing is their point guard depth.
yeah,
We'll
that
see
too.
Tim Frazier come in, see how he does. It'll give him a shot, though. Get
Mhm.
some more minutes.
Mm-hmm.
DG?
I like Tim Frazier, though. He played well for the Pelicans last year when he got his little run. I do not think Washington will be okay. I feel like by the time
Well, they'll drop from where they were because they were like third. They'll
Mhm.
drop maybe hovering like playoffs, maybe 8 spot, 9 spot, 10 spot, but
yeah,
they'll be in striking distance for when Wall gets back. That's what I mean. But
Okay,
they'll be
okay.
fine.
because I was going to say without John Wall, they're basically Orlando level in my opinion.
Yeah, they're already down to 7. So there's teams like the Bucks, the Heat, the Knicks. Put them all the way down to like
Mm-hmm.
11 or 10 or 11.
Yeah, but Wall would be back in a week or two. They said it was a couple weeks, right?
Yeah, I think they
Yeah.
said 2 weeks.
It's like a 2 weeks injury.
How long is it going to take for him to get back in shape and get 100%?
What is he hurt? Is his knee?
Knee.
Ooh, okay.
I think it's a knee strain, right?
Yeah, well, he's getting like a plasma shot. So it might be something that lingers.
Oh, okay. It all depends. But he's a huge part to their team, but it's just gonna be time for other guys to step up. Kelly Oubre's gonna have to play a little harder every night. Markieff Morris, he's gonna have to step up. Otto Porter and Bradley Beal, they're gonna have to step up and give more. And Bradley Beal's gonna have to show a little more playmaking ability. because they're really missing that from John Wall. He's one of the best playmakers in the world. So Bradley Beal's gonna have to really, expand his game while he's gone.
I don't know. I'm not feeling Washington this year so far. To be honest with you.
Oh, they're a team I never really put into like that really threats. They're like in the Toronto range to me. Like they're good regular season, get to the playoffs. It's like
Yeah. I used to put them above Toronto because I feel like they have a lot of upset capability. But to me, they took a step back this year. I still don't like Scott Brooks. I still don't. Losing John, that's the wrong one to lose because he's just so important to both sides because that's their leading shot blocker as well, a point guard. It's crazy. With Bradley, I feel like he can step up and this will be his first All-Star season finally. But to me, the guy who's probably going to be the best player during the stretch is going to be Otto Porter.
has to be, or he has to be up there with Bradley Beal.
Yeah.
Has to be.
So moving over, just a couple more basketball topics. Starting with the Thunder over in the West, they got a outstanding 15-point defeat of the Warriors the other night. Well, about a week ago now. It was pretty heated between Russ and Durant. And a lot of people thought that was going to be the turning point for the Thunder, that things were really going to come together. But now it's kind of just looking like an outlier for them. Something that I've seen that's continued to be a problem is there's just not a lot of ball movement, a lot of isolation, and they're not playing as a team. Russell Westbrook's still kind of playing in the same way as he did before he had Melo and Paul George. So, Rod, looking at the Thunder, what do you think going forward? Do you think they can pull it together? Or is this going to be an issue of there's only one ball?
I think they'll eventually figure it out. But the big thing with them is I feel like they're one of those teams that they're up for the big games. But then, like, when they're playing teams that they should dominate, they're letting them beat them. And that's what's really frustrating with them. Another thing is they're losing a lot of close games too because they can't really figure out who the guy is. When it's Westbrook taking shots, he's not getting them in. Melo's not really hitting clutch shots either. He's hit a couple earlier in the season, but he's not. Like, PG's not. So, like, it's really hard for them to close games when they can't really figure out, like, who the guy is when they have three.
Yeah.
Honestly, the more I watch OKC, the more I can't blame Kevin Durant for leaving them. And, yeah, that's a shot at Westbrook because they look pathetic. For me personally, I would make Paul George the main guy. As great as Russell Westbrook is, I really feel like he needs to focus on just being the point guard. I know he's an aggressive player. That's great. And it's not like he's been selfish. He does pass. But at the same time, I feel like when it comes to stages of careers, I feel like Westbrook would be more dangerous as a second option. PG, there's not a lot of wings that can hang with PG on both ends of the court. Even if you get a stop offensively with him, just dealing with him defensively is just going to tire you out. He's going to be the one that could start the break with his 2.8 steals per game, which is extremely impressive by my man's PG. When it comes to the three-point shot, I feel like he's probably the best three-point shooter of the three.
Yeah, easy.
Yeah. Slashing, probably Westbrook, but PG can get in that range. Melo, they use him too much. Melo needs to step back, like we try to tell him. Just let them do their thing, and then you come in, not on no isolation tip, man. If you want to isolate, be a six-man. I know he ain't going to come off the bench, but to me, he plays like somebody that just needs the ball too much to be with those type of players.
You know what I realized? He needs to be that K-Love and Chris Bosh. Like,
He does.
That's what he needs to be. And if you're not hearing Melo getting frustrated in the media about not touching the ball, then they're not doing things right. Because the Cavs, when K-Love was, hearing press about being frustrated about not getting the ball, like, the Cavs were doing well. And the same for the Heat about Bosh. Like, they were winning, but those guys still weren't, getting the ball as much as they were, and their numbers were really down. You don't really see that with Melo. And in a big three, there's always supposed to be that one guy that's supposed to take the drop off. And right now it's Westbrook, and it shouldn't be Westbrook.
Agreed. Just even looking at the team leaders, going to points per game leader, Russell Westbrook over Paul George and Melo, for me, small problem. When it comes to rebounds, for Russell Westbrook to still be the team leader in rebounds is a problem. Melo being famous with his F out of here rebounding thing that was flying through social media. I mean, you averaging 6. I mean, I'm not afraid of that if I'm the next power forward, which Melo is supposed to be. It's just bad on both ends. I mean, they're not even a great rebounding team, as you can see with Westbrook is the leader. 22nd. I'm gonna need Steven Adams to step up too. This is around the time where Steven Adams, to me, should be a double-double guy. He should be what Clint Capella is. You know, it's just
His offense has picked up, has it?
by a point. By a point.
It's not enough.
It's not enough. His field goal percentage is better.
That's what it is.
63%.
It seems like he's scoring a lot easier.
But he's
Like
with the
from
same
the games
shot
I've
attempts.
watched, yeah.
I mean, it's not that much better. You know, he has picked up his free throw percentage, 71, which is very impressive for a center and all. But OKC isn't here yet, and that's why they're not in the playoffs. It's bottom line. And if they found a way to get in the playoffs the way they're in, they're not making it to no Western Conference Finals.
Mm-mm.
That would be Houston and Golden State.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I'd like to see them pulled together because when you imagine that team at their best really playing team basketball, it could be a really scary thing. But who knows if they'll be able to make it happen. That'll do it for the NBA. Moving over to the NFL. After a 5-0 start, the Chiefs have had one of the most unbelievable, I don't know what to call it, fall from being one of the top teams in the NFL, now going 1-5 in their last 6 games. After the first 5 games, people were talking about Alex Smith, the quarterback, possibly an MVP candidate. Kareem Hunt, the rookie out of Toledo, as possibly the offensive rookie of the year.
He's lost that.
Now, they've lost to the Giants. They've lost to Buffalo. It's been ugly. So, Rod, my question to you is, or DG, whoever, what has contributed to this downfall? How did this happen?
Before Rod starts, I just want to put out a quick question. With this downfall with Kansas City, have you heard any Andy Reid being let go rumors?
No.
Orlando are 1-9 the last 10 games. You hear any Frank Vogel being fired rumors?
No.
Oh, just a thought. Okay. Sorry, Fizdale. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have an answer for that question. But the Chiefs, I don't know. They just lost like their mojo. Like what they were doing at the beginning of the season, like the offense that they were running, it kind of caught teams off guard. And I guess teams scout and they do their homework and they're starting to figure their stuff out. They're in a lot of like option stuff and shovel passes to Kelsey and like those little, trickery plays.
Mm-hmm.
And teams started figuring it out and it's really caught up to them. Alex Smith was really throwing the ball down the field at the beginning of the season. That's when they were, really winning. And then now he's sort of regressed and back to himself and he's dinking down Alex Smith and they're not really moving the ball down the field. As much as it sucks to say this, I think it might be time to, put the rookie in because they drafted him first round and
Yeah.
it might be time to put him in before the Chargers catch up to them because if the Chargers take the lead in that division, they're not letting up.
Yeah, and we'll get to the Chargers, but that's something that I was going to point out. Mahomes could be a good option for them. At least give him some experience, and then next year he'll have some games under his belt. This isn't the first time that Alex Smith has done this. You remember back in 2013, they were 9-0, and then they finished the season 2-5, and they lost to the Colts in the wild card game. So, I mean, it seems like year after year, Alex Smith, he'll start off really, really strong, and then for some reason, whatever reason, after a few bad games, kind of just loses it.
Yeah.
But moving over to the Chargers, the AFC West, once a really strong division, pretty weak this year. Everybody thought the Raiders were going to be a lot better. The Broncos would be a lot better with that defense. And the Chargers now have been surging in the last couple of weeks. Do you think the Chargers have a chance to make something happen?
I think they're one of the scariest teams in the league right now. They're really figuring their stuff out. And at the beginning of the year, they lost a couple games because of their kicker. that they should have won.
Mm-hmm.
So their record could easily be, they're 5-6 right now. They could easily be 7-4. And so when a team like that sort of figures their stuff out, it's all about like being hot at the right time. And they're really hot right now, and they're healthy. I mean, Phillip Rivers is playing good. Keenan Allen's one of the top receivers in the league. Their defense is pretty good. They have Casey Hayward. He's right now playing as one of the best corners in the league. And then the two pass rushers, Bosa and Ingram, that's the best two pass rushing tandem in the league. Like, those guys are good at what they do, and they're good. They have a pretty good defense, and their offense could put up points. So
You didn't even mention Melvin Gordon.
Yeah, I didn't even mention Melvin Gordon. And their tight ends, they have good tight ends.
Yeah. I mean, Phillip Rivers is always a guy that you can't count out. Even though he's getting a little older now, he just has a way of making things happen.
I mean, being older in this league as a quarterback is not a big issue anymore. If you look at Drew Brees, look at Tom Brady.
Appreciate the Breeze. Shout out.
Oh, of course. You know, that's the man. And I'm pulling for Phillip, man. I mean, he's not going to get a title because we have the Patriots in here. But, you know, if I wasn't such a big Patriots fan, I would really pull for Phillip to get one because, to me, he's one of the most underappreciated quarterbacks that we've had
I agree.
in our lifetime.
I think Stafford will be in there, too. Stafford is so underappreciated, in my opinion.
Well, still talking about underappreciated quarterbacks, one of the most, I think, probably the most underappreciated quarterback in the league, Tyrod Taylor for the Bills. They benched him last week. Not this last Sunday, but the Sunday before. Brought in
Nathan Peterman.
And that didn't go too well. Now, did it? What was it, 5 interceptions in the first half?
Some straight trash.
But my question is, Tyrod has been fine. I mean, he hasn't been perfect, and, you know, he's had his ups and downs, but why bench him at this point? Why do that to a Bills team that has been surprisingly decent this year? They've pulled out some good wins, and he's been able to make it happen.
Maybe to try to defend Buffalo a little bit. They are 30th in passing yards and 27th in total yards per game. If you had to think about their best offensive weapon, usually it is the quarterback with teams, but for them, it's definitely LaShawn McCoy by far. Tyrod Taylor, he's been cool. I think that's fair to say. He's been cool. But when I think of Tyrod, I just think game manager. I don't think he's a playmaker or game changer, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe from their standpoint, they was trying to look for somebody who's more of a firecracker and more of a guy that you could depend on, who could overcome being a wild card, you know, who could really step up the offense on their own and not just maintain. That's what I'm thinking. But obviously they don't have anybody because their backup is straight garbage, boo-boo, trash, horrible.
Yeah.
What you think, Rod?
Man, they need to stop disrespecting Tyrod. Real spill. Because Tyrod, I mean, he's a game manager. He's honestly what Russell Wilson was before, like when he first came in. Because their defense is good, and they have Shady, who's one of the best running backs in the league, a la Seahawks, who had Marshawn Lynch, who was one of the best at the time. All you need to do is manage the game and not turn the ball over. Tyrod doesn't really turn the ball over, but he doesn't throw the ball down the field. That's his big problem. He's also like Alex Smith. The thing is, the Bills thought they had a Patrick Mahomes like Nathan Peterman, and that backfired big time. So they went back to Tyrod, and the Bills beat the Chiefs at their own game this past week.
I don't know, though. I love Tyrod. Don't get me wrong. I'm always support a black quarterback, but I don't think he has Russell Wilson upside, though.
No, that's the thing. Like, I'm saying he played as a vet, how Russell Wilson played when he came in.
Yeah.
And Russell Wilson, you know, got better and better and better.
Yeah.
But Tyrod's kind of plateaued. And that's what I think they benched him, because they kind of sensed that he's kind of plateaued. Like, this is what you're going to get from him. And they needed more.
Right.
Well, I definitely don't think he's going to be coming back to Buffalo after this season.
Yeah,
they don't want to.
he's not.
They don't want to pay the price for him.
I think he'll be a backup.
Somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere. I don't think he'll be a starter.
It would be a
It
very.
depends on the situation.
It would be a very Browns-esque thing to do, to pick up a seasoned average quarterback.
But would would Tyrod be a lot better option for the Jags
Ooh,
than Bortles?
That's an
I
idea.
like that.
Yeah, I like that too. I like it a lot.
Or what about the Broncos?
I don't know about the Broncos.
I'd rather go
It's a little
Jags.
different.
No, but I'm saying would he elevate those teams?
I'm not going to use the word elevate. I can't do that. I don't think he's that type of guy. But I think he's just enough. If
That's
I
what
had-
I'm saying, because that would elevate them, right? Because
I would think it's more so the team getting better and they finding somebody who can keep the glue, not necessarily make them, put them over the hump. I don't see that. I feel like it'll be the roster around them.
I'd love to see him on the Jags. With the Broncos, it'd just be different. Haven't seen a mobile quarterback on the Broncos.
I just saw a recent mock
Ever.
draft. Quick thing. I just saw a recent mock draft, and I saw that the Jags were drafting Lamar Jackson.
Hey,
That would probably be my favorite. The Jags would probably be my favorite too.
Oh,
That would be crazy.
that's a future champion.
Well, I mean, they
How
don't-
crazy
yeah.
would that be if they got Lamar Jackson?
Mike Vick with defense, man.
Well, I mean, that's just a mock draft, though. You never
Yeah,
know
it's a mock
what-
draft,
what's gonna
and
happen.
we don't
Yeah.
know how things are gonna go. But just
It is a
that
cool idea, though.
But guess what I'm gonna dream about?
So moving over to the Atlanta Falcons, have come around a little bit after not a rough start, but definitely not what everyone expected. Now 7-4, still third in a pretty tough NFC South, but they'll certainly be able to vie for that wild card position. One thing that could possibly be holding them back, though, is they're playing the Vikings this weekend.
and then they have the Saints on Thursday night, the week after.
So a
Ooh.
tough little stretch here. I
And the
don't.
Saints have the Panthers and Falcons, so it's
Oh, okay.
it's gonna be tough.
It's going to be a little bit of a shakeup for the NFC South.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that the Falcons can pull something off, maybe squeak into the playoffs and make some noise?
I don't know. It all depends on how they play, because the way the NFL scheduled it this year, the Saints, the Panthers, the Falcons, and the Bucks, they all play each other at the end of the season. So they really put an emphasis on like the division towards the end of the season. So these teams are looking really hot right now, but if they keep losing to each other, they're really going to kill each other out of the playoffs. So right now they have 3 teams in there, but I only think like maybe 2 of them will get in. It all depends on which of the 2 are the better teams.
I feel like Atlanta has a chance they can possibly beat Minnesota. I'm looking at Minnesota's schedule. They had some pretty decent wins, but I haven't seen anything that make me be like, okay, Minnesota's legit. That's a Super Bowl contender. It's just hard. Always looking at a team that's been in the playoff or in the Super Bowl the year before. We know what history usually said. We've had a couple of outliers the past years with the Patriots, who's always an outlier, Seahawks, but then like after their second Super Bowl run, we seen the drop off just happen dramatically, and we thought that was a potential dynasty. It's tough. I mean, because the NFL is just too good of a league.
They never got over that play call.
Sure haven't.
They never got over that.
Sure haven't.
And I think that's sort of what's going to happen with the Falcons. They're never going to get over not running the ball and losing 28-3, or losing when they were up 28-3.
Yeah.
So that's one of those things like it's just, and they're just right where they were last year. I think people just made a big deal about how they lost last year and having the Super Bowl hangover, and they were trying to talk themselves out of it. Oh, we don't have a Super Bowl hangover and all that stuff. So they started off rough, but I think they sort of figured their things out. And
The
they're gonna be-
Falcons?
Yeah, the Falcons. They'll be all right.
The thing is that they're beating teams that they should beat, and it's been big, like a big win against the Cowboys a couple weeks ago, a big win against the Buccaneers, but Cowboys have been trash.
Yeah.
I mean, really.
With-
That's
without
not a big
Zeke.
win to me.
And then you
without
look at
Zeke.
the Seahawks, and they really barely squeaked that out, 34-31 against depleted Seahawks secondary. And then they lost to the Panthers, 3 weeks ago. So they've won 3 in a row. Julio Jones is looking really good again. But they've got a stretch here where if they don't do extremely well, I mean, their last 5 games, they're going to face the Saints twice,
Yeah.
and the Panthers and the Vikings, and then the Buccaneers are in there, so that should be a win. But other than that, I mean, they could easily go 1-4
Yeah.
in these last 5 games.
I got a little more faith in them. I feel like they're gonna go. 3-2.
I like them more than Carolina.
I do too.
I think that if it was between those two teams to fight for the last spot in the playoffs, I think they would beat Atlanta or they would beat Carolina out.
It helps that Julio Jones is getting touchdowns again.
Yeah. And he
Jeez.
won't drop the one like he did against Carolina.
No, I don't see that happening twice.
Panthers, they've been all right, though. I mean, they did, I don't know, they've won, just like Falcons, they've won the games they were supposed to win. They got beat down by the Saints earlier in the season.
Yeah. And they also got beat down by the Bears.
Yeah. That was 3 points against the Bears. Put up 3 points. Almost got shut out.
Yeah.
Thank God for their rushing, though. Their rushing keeps them in the game because
Cam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going, let's pull it back real quick. The Falcons taking on Minnesota this weekend. Minnesota's been a huge surprise. Can they keep it up? Can Case Keenum continue to play at that level?
With that defense, man. And
Well, it's not just, I mean, this guy, Adam Thielen, the
Yeah.
receiver.
he has
he's-
this connection with these receivers. Like they're good, man. If they didn't lose Dalvin Cook, this team would be super scary.
Yeah.
But they still have a good run game with Murray and McKinnon. And Stephon Diggs is really making a name for himself. And Adam Thielen as well. Like
He's third in the league
yeah.
in receiving yards, right behind Julio Jones.
He's good, man.
free Laquan Treadwell. That's all I'm gonna say about Minnesota. Shout outs to Creep Monique.
Man,
I'll be
he
interested.
ain't freeing nothing. They ain't freeing nothing, man. They wasted a draft pick on him, man.
Whoa, waste. This is only his second season.
And he still can't get on the field.
That's on them.
That's
You don't know what he can do on the field.
He's been on the field though. He ain't do nothing with it.
Okay. I got faith in my boy.
Hey,
Well, now looking back to this past weekend, Rod, your Saints took a tough loss to the Rams, 26-20. Let's do a little recap. That was a pretty exciting game.
yeah, it was, but I kind of knew going in that it'd be a tough game for them because their 2 starting corners are out, and one of them is, Rookie of the Year candidate, and he's probably gonna win it. Marshawn Lattimore,
Mm-hmm.
he's out, and the other starting corner is out. So Sammy Watkins really, had a day against the second and third stringers, and they just really couldn't stop the pass. Their coverage wasn't really good. But
Yeah.
other than that, their offense is fine. Their defense is played as well as it could have. Man, that boy Kamara, that was a steal.
I was just looking at him.
That was a steal.
Is
He
that
is
the-
so good.
Is that the new offensive rookie of the year?
Yeah. I think the Saints are gonna sweep the Rookie of the Year for like the first time ever.
It's
I think
definitely
so.
possible. I mean, crap. Kamara led them in rushing and receiving.
Yeah.
5 carries for 87 yards rushing, 6 receptions for 101, and a touchdown in each. Going back to Jared Goff, though, yeah, without those 2 corners, he really took advantage of
And he's looked good.
that.
He's good. That rookie coach, McVay,
Yeah, Sean McVay,
I think he might steal
Coach of the Year.
Coach of the Year from Doug Peterson, the Eagles coach. I think he
Yeah.
might, dude. Because the Rams,
They've come around.
they really flipped it. This year's making that LA move from
Uh-huh.
St. Louis looks smarter and smarter.
It's true. One more topic for the NFL. How about Michael Crabtree and Aqib Talib getting into it on Sunday, the second time in a row that these players have faced off, and Talib, the chain snatcher.
Supposedly before the game, Crabtree had it taped to himself
Yeah.
so Talib wouldn't take it, and he still snatched it while they was fighting.
I mean, what's a little bit of tape gonna do?
I
I
have
don't
no
know why he
idea.
thought that was a good idea. Why is everybody fighting all of a sudden?
Yeah,
What
that's
is
so
going
true.
on?
That is so true. There's a lot more fights.
It's good
this
for the
year.
league.
Is it?
Yeah,
If the,
it's more exciting.
if
More
the best
people want
players
to
keep
watch.
on getting suspended?
It's just one game.
No, they got
I got
suspended
two.
too.
No, they pulled it back.
Oh,
Or
really?
you
Yeah.
saying something? Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, they pulled it back because the Raiders coach was like, "How did AJ Green and Jalen Ramsey get
Not
no
get-
games?"
Yeah, yeah.
and they got 2.
Honestly, I think that's why they pulled it back.
They had to.
No, I feel like that brawl was even more worthy of 2 games because everybody stopped and then they got into it again.
Yeah,
Sure.
So two fights, 2 games, my man. 2 fights, 2 games.
That's a great point. They did. I was trying to figure out how did they break it up and then them fighting again.
Because it's
Like, how did-
personal.
No, I know, but like, how did they get to the point? Usually, when people are breaking up a fight, there's one side holding the other back. Like,
Well,
how
who's
did
the instigator here? Is it Crabtree or Toledo?
well, supposedly at the beginning of the game, Crabtree like punched the other corner in the stomach or something like, but after a play, and no one really like caught it.
Huh.
And him and Talib were talking, and he was like, okay, like they already had beef from games before,
Yeah.
and they're division rivals, so they see each other twice a year.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
So probably yapping at each other and got into it, and it just ain't stopped.
Look, the suspension doesn't hurt Denver at all because their season's over. But Michael Crabtree being gone, to me, it hurts Oakland because
They have a chance.
exactly.
That's
I mean,
true.
Baltimore is 6 with a 6-5 record. They're 5-6. 3 teams have a 5-6 record. 2 teams, including Baltimore, has a 6-5 record. They can keep going. So, composure, Michael, composure. That's what off season is for. And I heard y'all both live in Dallas. Go see each other
Yeah, I don't know if that's going to happen, but
and call TMZ when you do it, so we have something to talk about.
Or call us.
I would love to record that.
all right, that'll do it for the NFL. Make sure to tune in as well for our hip hop podcast. We'll have that dropping on Saturday. Thank you for listening. As always, we appreciate it. Make sure to get involved on our social media at LaFlare_media on Instagram and Facebook. We'd love to hear from you. Have a great week, everybody.
Yeah. Action, baby. They ask me where I've been grinding. I've been grinding with my turn, but that shit was perfect timing. I can think they hating on me, but it ain't surprising. Yeah, that I'm shining, brighter than the diamond. That's where I've been grinding. I've been grinding with my turn, but that shit was perfect timing. I can think they hating on me, but it ain't surprising. Yeah, that I'm shining, brighter than the diamond. Yeah, they say action boy, you versatile. I got friends I never seen or heard from in a while. Talk behind your back, but in your face they gonna smile. I'ma take your bill like candy from a fucking child. But my life for they think I'm up to something now. When you walk, that we nigga like they come around. Don't even knock a little, see that y'all some fucking clown. Nigga tryna steal the wave and they fucking drown. Got on my grind, I ain't got time for no excuses. Streets, but you can't be out your head, it's stupid. While I'm flowing, you gon' trap, play ball, and make some music, doing